So Samson, thank you very much for making time to share your insights into the future of leadership. But before we go to leadership, can you tell us a little bit more about yourself? Where did you grow up?
I'm Samson Ogbole. I grew up in Irua, Edo State. That's in Isha, Edo State.
Right.
Basically, grew up with my grandparents. Yeah. Then at the age of, I think, 10 or 9, 10 or so, I'm not so sure of the age, I had to go stay with my parents, so I moved around a lot. But my early childhood was with my grandparents in Irua, States.
And tell us, what was your dream career when you grew up?
Yeah, growing up, I always wanted to be a doctor. I felt, like growing up in the village, the vision or the thought pattern was after God, there are doctors. After doctors, every other person comes next.
Okay.
So, and as a kid, I was always told to aim high, and aiming high meant become a doctor.
A medical doctor?
Yes, a medical doctor.
Okay. Well, today you've become a farm doctor, so to speak, and you're solving one of the big problems in the world, and obviously in Nigeria, which is to produce enough food for the ever-growing population. And you've just been featured on CNN. So can you tell us, how did you get into farming and especially into aeroponics?
So, okay, in Nigeria, once you finish your university, we have something called National Youth Service Corps that is compulsory for all graduates within the country. So, and it's a 1-year compulsory service to the government and to the country. So during my NYSC, I was opportune to work under Dr. Nobet Maroya of Yam Improvement and Security in West Africa in IITA. IITA is International Institute of Tropical Agriculture. So while I was there working, I got to see another part of agriculture. I got to see agriculture from the research angle, agriculture that is technology driven, and agriculture that could fuse with my initial dream of being a medical doctor, which was food that was healthy, not just provision of food, but provision of healthy food. And I'm like, oh, this is way better. I mean, medical doctors in Nigeria, basically, you are like the stopgap. When people fall sick, they come to you. But with this, I realized you could actually be doing much more, which is preventing sickness rather than treating diseases. So, yeah, so I got into agriculture. When I got into IT, saw Dr. Maria work, Dr. Nobet Maria, got to meet the likes of Dr. Balogun, Dr. Beatrice Aigewi, and they opened my eyes to a different part of agriculture, different from the agriculture I was used to with my grandparents. So that's how the whole agriculture thing started.
Right. And Samson, can you tell us who inspired you in your early days?
When I was much younger, that would be my grandfather. I mean, he was this kind of, my grandfather, he's late now, by Negbedion. He had this, what's the word now? He was someone who, he had dreams to ensure that all his kids, especially us, his grandkids, had the best of things. Nevertheless, he was always contented with whatever it is we had achieved part time. So it wasn't a thing, and he didn't really, I don't think I've ever heard him compare us with any other person. Rather, he loved all of us, his grandkids, as one. He treated us individually as opposed to, oh, this is doing this, why are you not doing that? Nevertheless, in his own subtle way, he was always pushing, oh, you can still do more, you can do more. So growing up, it was more or less like, oh, how do I ensure I do not feel this Baba? I do not feel, okay, we usually call, growing up, I called my grandfather Baba. So how do I ensure I don't feel Baba? How do I ensure everything Baba wished for comes to pass? Yeah.
Right. And Samson, looking back over your career, your very young career, would you say there was a turning point where things could have gone differently?
Yeah, I would say that was my time in IITA. That was my time in IITA because I think if I had never worked with Dr. Norbert Maria, I don't think I would have picked up agriculture. I would have just continued with my biochemistry research, and it's like I don't think I would not have actually known there were other opportunities and problems that agriculture could actually solve for the real people. I would have just thought, oh, agriculture is just provision of food. That is all. Nothing go beyond that. They have all they need, and that is it. It was my meeting with Dr. Norbert Maria in IITA that changed all of that.
And when was it? What year was it?
That was 2013. 2013.
Okay. Now, Samson, you've recently been featured by CNN for your use of aeroponics, which I believe is basically growing plants in air. Can you tell us a little bit more about the process of aeroponics and how you apply it?
So aeroponics is the process of growing plants without the use of substrate or any solid medium or aggregate medium, such that you allow the roots of the plant to stay in a misty environment. And simply, like I tell people, I think the first question people tend to ask is how will plants grow without soil? And I try to explain the fact that, number one, plants do not need soil to grow. So it's important we understand what is the function of soil. And we realize the function of soil basically is to, one, provide support for the plants, provide aeration, allow for aeration, and retain water. So which means if I can provide these three functions for the plants, I can simply eliminate soil. And I try to also help diffuse the misconception of, oh, soil provides nutrients. I say no. If soil provides nutrients, we will not have to hear about things like fertilizer to increase nutrient in the soil. So nutrient is something that is not provided by the soil itself. It's just humus around where the soil is that we say, oh, there is a nutrient-rich soil. Now, what we do is create a platform, depending on the kind of crop you want to grow, that will support the plants. Then, in the root region, we create, using things like sprinklers or misters, you are able to send in nutrient-laden mists. So we have your water with nutrients inside based on the kind of plant you want to grow. Send the nutrients in with pumping machine. However, you have sprinklers that sprays the roots. However, the nutrient is not supplied 24 hours a day. Just like we say, like human beings, you don't eat all the time. The same thing happens with plants. They don't eat all the time. So we regulate their feeding. We regulate their feeding. And one of the key determinants in regulation of their feeding is how long will it take for the roots to dry out. So just before the roots becomes dry, you supply the next batch of food. So in Nigeria, I got into aeroponics under Dr. Maria again, under Yipswa, and we started with the use of aeroponics for yam. We started with the aeroponics for yam. So right now, we're also doing it for other crops as individuals, while Yipswa still continues in the use of aeroponics to grow yam.
And Samson, can you tell us, what is your vision for the future of farming for maybe the next 5 to 10 years? What is it that you would like to achieve?
So number one would be create a consciousness in farmers where they understand the process of farming should first and foremost be healthy for the farmer. Two, the process of farming should be healthy for the consumer. And finally, the process of farming and the produce of farming should be healthy for the environment. That is one. Two, I also want to ensure that the hospitals, the pharmacies of the future are centered around use of food as a way to prevent or treat diseases before they jump to drugs. So that is number two. So I want to ensure that people look at food as what it is meant to be, which is drug that can prevent or treat diseases. And three, adopting the best of technologies, artificial intelligence in agriculture. These are my three core areas.
Now, Samson, what would you say is driving you today?
It's simple. I want to ensure that by the time I'm out of this world, I would be able to say, yes, the way people treat food is different. I mean, if you see, okay, using Nigerians as a perfect example, Nigerians cares about the designers they put on their body. You care about the kind of who is the maker of the wristwatch you are wearing, who is the maker of the car you are driving. But for some weird reason, you don't even care how the plant, the food you are eating is grown. You don't care the process that was used. You don't care how it was processed. You do not even read what is written on the pack of the food you are buying. Right. That is the consciousness I want to change, because if what is fundamental to survival, which is food, you do not care about that, but somehow you care about every other thing, it means there is something wrong with our priority. So what is driving me is to be able to help people reevaluate priorities, to make people understand that, oh, eating right should be the first and foundational thing before every other thing. So yeah, that is one of my major driving force, giving people a reorientation to understand there is more to food. There is more to just filling the stomach. It's actually about life. It's actually about determining the genetics of the next generation. It's actually about determining the future of generations unborn.
Now, Samson, let's talk about leadership. What does the future of leadership mean to you?
So I would say for me, the future of leadership is one that is able to combine management and leading together, because you realize right now in the country, we still have to depend more on the older generations. And for them, they are used to this whole hierarchy-based form of management, where you have the boss at the top and you have different levels of hierarchies and a whole lot. And for the next generation, that would not work so well, because number one, you realize there is already a disruption being brought about by technology such as your social media. There is a whole lot of information out there, which means the man at the top, who naturally will think I am the all-in-all, who understands all of the things that is meant to go on. We have those even at the bottom of the hierarchy chain that actually understands most of the time much more than those at the top. So the future of leadership will be that is innovative, where we are able to have more of a flatter structure, where everybody in the value chain of the whole hierarchy is a part of the leadership. Not just one man at the top saying, I am the leader, but rather everybody in their own individual space where they work in an organization are also part of. They also understand, yes, we are leaders. Yeah.
And Samson, tell us, what have you learned from your own journey that you consider most important for building future leaders?
So I would say number one is collaboration. Collaboration, using Nigeria as a perfect example. There is this thing of I, me. I have to do this. I have to be in charge of this and that and all of that. And I would say one of the things I think I've learned the most to be collaboration and accepting responsibility. Collaborate, accept responsibility. And in PS Nutraceuticals, I think that is one of the key things that we do, where everybody understands, okay, this is your job, this is your role, you accept responsibility, you are able to think out solutions. Yeah.
And Samson, you are speaking to many audiences and many future leaders around the world. You recently did a TEDx talk. When you speak to aspiring leaders, what is it you tell them that they should focus on for future-proofing their career?
So number one is keep learning. There is always something new to learn. You never reach the summit. It's never, oh, I have learned everything I need to know. No, keep learning. Always have an honest self-evaluation. Two, surround yourself with people who will be honest with you, who will tell you, this is right, this is wrong. So keep learning. Surround yourself with people that would honestly evaluate you on a regular basis. You need those two things as your pillars. And number three, don't be afraid of change. It's a constant. You find out, oh, there are better ways to do things. Then why not being afraid of change? Have the ability to pick the best people for the best roles. You are not the all-in-all. You are not the citadel of all knowledge. So you cannot do everything perfectly. have those who can do things better in the best positions to do it better.
Now, Samson, when it comes to technology, what would you say are the key technologies that future leaders should learn and master?
Like I tell people, when it comes to technology, it's ever evolving. It's always changing. So I would say, number one, start with the basics. I'm saying this because of our Nigerian populace. Start with the basics. Understand the use of computers properly. Understand the use of computers beyond sending and receiving emails. Understand, because like I tell people, there are jobs that would be extinct in the next 5-10 years because of the evolvement of technology, because of artificial intelligence coming in. Then in whatever value chain you are in whatever career field or sphere you work in, figure out what is the technology that is coming up in this area. Latch onto it, understand it, find a way where it works for you, and you are good. So it's not really about naming one technology or the other. It's much more about understanding what technology would make me perform better, what technology will increase our outputs with same input or even minimal inputs.
And Samson, when it comes to social media, what is it you would tell future leaders they should focus on, and how should they go about handling social media as a tool to communicate and to build their personal brand?
So I would say for social media, whatever it is you want to, for whatever dream career or business you are doing, your social media should reflect your business, your core values, because we are in a generation where even if you send in your CV, before people will look at your CV and say, oh, you are perfect or you are the most suited for the job, there is always the chance people want to go and check your social media, because that is really who you are, where you express your thoughts with nobody coming in to say, no, don't say that, don't do that. So if your social media is saying something else and your CV is saying something else, then there is already a probability that you are not going to be picked for whatever it is you want to do. So next gen, you must be able to constructively use your social media to push the brand, or you be able to use that to create the identity you want people to see in you. You want people to, the perception you want people to have about you. Let your social media push it. So what you push out on social media, what you like, what you comment, the kind of comments you make should be patterned in a way that at the end of the day, it pushes your own individual brand. If you know it is not going to help push your brand, it is not going to help express your values, then it is best not to put it out there in any of the social media.
Now, Samson, as a leader and as a mentor to future leaders, can you maybe share a success story or two where you advised somebody, you mentored somebody, and that person took your advice to heart?
Yeah, I think the first person that comes to my mind would be the CEO of City Veggies, Mr. Dan. And he wanted to come into farming full time. He is someone that has been in the engineering sphere. He has helped me build a whole lot of machines we are using in agriculture. And he wanted to pick up agriculture full time. And I had to explain to him what he needed to do, how he needs to start, and all of that. Yes, and he took everything to heart. And I can say, to the glory of God, he's able to start, he's going to be starting his own farm, everything fully funded with investors by January. So yes, I would say that is one of my major success stories.
Well done. And Samson, are there any role models of leadership that you feel future leaders should study and maybe learn from?
So for role models, I will pick 3 different people. I'll pick 3 different people. The first that comes to my mind is Dr. Norbert Maroya of Yam Improvement and Income for Food Security in West Africa, Swatu in ITA. He is somebody I would say anybody that wants to understand how to fuse research, management, leadership into one. He is somebody that they should take their time to study. So I will call his name again so people can probably Google him and learn a whole lot from him, Dr. Norbert Maroya. Another person I would say is my business partner, Mr. Peter Olisaeloka Okocha, PJ Okocha. Yeah. He's somebody else. He's young. So he's young, he's into management. And the reason I'm picking him is there is a big difference between, in the resisting of the biggest success stories that people tend to celebrate are those that are going from grass to grace. Oh, you were born poor, now you are rich. But there is also the bigger issues where you are born rich and you try to maintain the wealth. Your ability to manage and ensure you are building on existing foundation. So for those who, I am born wealthy, but I don't know how to manage my life, I don't know how to manage people, I would say PJ Okocha is somebody that you should study, is somebody that would be an awesome one to study and say, oh, with him, you will be able to learn a whole lot from business to human relations and so on and so forth. Then, again, there is also the former president of Nigeria, President Olusegun Obasanjo, somebody else that you can also take and say, okay, study, understand how to deal with people, how not to take things personal, how to lead a country, how to lead a nation. And there are lots and lots of books about him that you can take to study his life and understand what it means to be a true leader in the 21st century. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Samson. Now, how can people get hold of you and how best should they connect with you?
So you can get in touch with me on LinkedIn, Ogbole Samson on LinkedIn, or on social media, any of my social media pages. You have Samson Prolific, one word, Samson Prolific, on either Twitter or Instagram. Then website is www.psnutrac.com.
And last but not least, Samson, is there one thing that you would really like to ask our listeners to take to heart and implement in their own leadership?
I would say the one thing you should take away would be you don't know everything. Consult others. Don't make selfish decisions. Make decisions based on the goal you want to achieve, not based on your emotions.
Well, yeah. Samson, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing your insights and your wisdom, and especially your vision, which I must applaud you for. It's an incredibly inspiring vision for the future of the continent and the future of the world. And it's a very concise vision. So, I mean, I wish every leader would have as concise a vision as you for the future. And I hope to see you soon and hopefully see you at the Future Leadership Summit in May in Johannesburg.